At my husband's funeral, my millionaire son revealed an unexpected truth. Is Mom truly enjoying this life? The words cut through the stillness, shocking the gathering of friends and neighbors, lingering like an unseen threat. I clutched my bouquet of wilting daisies tighter, my knuckles white against the faded yellow petals. Bill, my husband, was buried beneath the fresh earth before me, an anchor of our small family, now lost to time. As the wind howled softly, I felt as if it echoed the laughter of long-ago days when life was simpler, uncomplicated by wealth and ambition. Shane stood there, immaculate in his tailored suit, a stark contrast to the somber backdrop. How had we drifted so far apart? Money tinged his life with a certain sheen that became increasingly difficult for me to face. Once, I believed in the value of hard work, of love, of laughter at a kitchen table, not the hollow promises of $1. I could feel the murmurs of the town rippling around us, their curious eyes shifting between us like waves crashing against a jagged shore, their whispers carrying the weight of their opinions, yet missing the heart of our shattered bond. "Dad left something for you," he continued, a fire igniting in his voice, something that could change everything. The incredulous gasps of the mourners weaved through the air, a tangible gasp of disbelief that clashed against my grief. Visions of a future interwoven with Shane's dreams chased me, colliding violently with the remnants of my trust in Bill's intentions. Did his love, so deep, waver in the face of financial burdens Melanie carried alone? Unease gnawed at the corners of my heart. Inside, an adrift woman wrestled with conflicting emotions, love, pride, resentment, all of it swirling like autumn leaves caught in a storm. Is money the only way to judge one's worth? My mind echoed back to the values Bill and I had instilled in Shane. I felt the shift in the air as whispers surrounded Shane's claim, each murmur pulling tighter around me. Had Bill hidden something for a reason? Was it true that he didn't trust me to be prudent with his legacy? The moral quandary tugged at my conscience. How could I respond? As a good mother or simply as a widow, grasping for meaning in a life that had just been irrevocably darkened? The anguish clawed at my stomach, rising like bile. I could feel each heartbeat pulse through the silence, drawing the focus back to me, but tainting it with an uncomfortable spotlight. Just moments before I opened my mouth to reclaim my dignity, Shane's voice cut through my uncertainty. Maybe you should be asking yourself what you truly want. The determination behind his words firebombed the fragile silence, igniting years of history. How could he condemn me, provoke a response against the backdrop of our father's gravesite? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the town looked on, Shane's smoldering anger and my own jumbled emotions collided, a crisis begging me to choose. I stood at the edge of two worlds, my husband's simple legacy of love and labor, clashing with Shane's vision of success, buried under the palpable weight of family duty. Each heartbeat brought me closer to a decision I didn't want to make. Was it too late for me to confront my truths, to understand who I was amidst the crumbling facade of grief and unspoken words? In the silence that enveloped us, where love, loss, and legacy intertwined, I took a deep breath, holding still in the tension of our shared history. And somehow, I knew this conversation was only the beginning. The air was thick with unspoken resentment as the murmurs faded into an awkward quietude. My fingers relaxed, letting the drooping bouquet slip from my grasp. The daisies, once bright symbols of affection, fell onto the soil, their yellow a stark reminder of everything I had loved and the many things I had sacrificed. My heart raced, each beat an insistence urging me to break free from this stifling moment. Is this the legacy you truly want? I could barely recognize my own voice. It trembled, hanging in the air like a fragile thread connecting my past to an uncertain future. As I looked at Shane, his furious expression was both familiar and alien. He was my son, yet as he stood there enveloped in success, he seemed a stranger cloaked in ambition and pressure. What had transformed this sweet boy into a man who equated worth with wealth? "Mom," he said sharply, "it's not just about you. This isn't the time for a post-funeral existential crisis." His words stung, yet I sensed a vulnerability beneath his bravado. Did he truly believe this confrontation was merely about my discontent, or did he fear his own? I glanced at the looming gravestone, its cold granite a symbol of finality, an unwelcome partner to my reflections. I had built a life around Bill's dreams and aspirations, yet his departure had pulled the foundations out from under me. He had trusted me with his heart, and somewhere along the line, I had lost sight of my own. "Shane," I began, my voice steadying, "we need to discuss what your father left behind beyond material possession. What kind of mother do you want me to be now? What kind of future do you envision for us both?" His expression shifted, and I could see him grappling with my words. The hold of anger loosened slightly, revealing a flicker of uncertainty. Perhaps he hadn't considered how his views about success intertwined with my grief. Perhaps he, and I, needed to rethink what legacy truly means. Around us, the crowd was beginning to stir, curious eyes absorbing every word we exchanged. I felt naked under the scrutiny, but resolve began to rise within me. This wasn't just about sharing my grief, but about reclaiming my voice. I could no longer be a passive observer in my own life. "I refuse to measure my worth by your expectations or your father's fortune," I continued, a spark igniting within me. "If money is the only compass you'll follow, then I need to show you that there's more, so much more, that we can achieve together without losing ourselves along the way." The challenge flew between us like an arrow, one that pierced through the cloud of anger and disappointment. It was a daring assertion, not just to Shane but to myself, an attempt to reconnect with the essence of who I was before the gloss of affluence obscured my vision. "Then let's see what that legacy is together," Shane replied, the fire flickering in his eyes now with intrigue rather than rage. "We'll sift through Dad's things, discover what he left us. But remember, my world isn't about your kitchen table anymore." His disclosure felt like both a threat and an invitation, a door cracked open for exploration. Would I step through? My thoughts raced with the possibilities, each one contrasting sharply against the grief of just moments before. "Fine," I replied, my voice gaining strength. "But we're starting with the truth of who we are, not just what your father built." As we moved toward the grave, the ground itself seemed to tremble beneath us, feeling more like solid ground than a reminder of loss. I was driven by an unyielding need for resolution, not just for me, but for the son I wished to rebond with. And as we stood there, a tumult of emotions swirling, I realized my journey had shifted. I was no longer defined by my husband's legacy. I was crafting my own, and together with Shane, it was a venture I had never anticipated. Yet even with this new direction, a question lingered in my mind. What other truths lay buried amid the remnants of our lives together, and would they lead us closer to healing or deeper into despair? As I stepped away from the grave, I felt a daunting realization. This was only the beginning. The car ride home was thunderous with silence, a palpable tension strung between the two of us, filling every crevice of the vehicle as I navigated the streets. My mind was a whirlpool of possibilities. I was conscious of Shane's sharp gaze piercing through the layers of discomfort that clung to us like heavy fog. "Do you really think it will be that simple?" He finally broke the silence, his voice edged with skepticism. "Just because we talked? That somehow we'll figure everything out while sifting through boxes?" The gears of my resolve shifted, the doubt in his tone mirroring my own underlying fears. "It's a start," I replied, attempting to match his intensity. "We need to examine what he left us, not just the physical things, but the memories and principles. Don't you want to know more about who he really was beyond his business?" Shane pursed his lips, his mind seemingly racing towards conclusions both practical and emotional that I wasn't privy to yet. I had to tread carefully. The man Shane had become was built on ambition, but perhaps it was time to ask him to disassemble that foundation and rebuild it piece by piece with me. "Yes, I want to know," he said finally, and it was a relief to hear the vulnerability in his admission. The fight in him had settled into something softer, a willingness to discover the man we had lost. But could I lead him truly? As we arrived at our sprawling, empty house, I felt the weight of the world shift just slightly. The structure felt vast and hollow without Bill's laughter echoing through its walls. I could almost hear his voice, urging me to lean into this moment, to find strength rather than fear in the spaces left behind. "Let's start with the study," I suggested, my heart quickening at the idea of confronting the remnants of a life once filled with vitality. The room held promises of secrets wrapped in old leather books and dusty files, knowledge buried beneath the gloss of his success. "Are we really going to do this now?" Shane replied, arching an eyebrow, a hint of defiance still lingering. "You know I could just have someone else handle all of this." With a deep breath, I shot him a glance of determination. "Then what will happen to our connection? We've spent too long drifting apart, Shane. Let's search for the truth together." Reluctantly, he nodded, a silent agreement emerging between us. We ventured into the study, the air thick with dust and nostalgia. Each object we touched became a portal to the past, a reminder both painful and beautiful. As I leafed through yellowed letters, many addressed to Shane and me, I stumbled upon a small journal, tucked beneath a pile of formal paperwork. Intrigued, I flipped it open and was struck by the familiar handwriting. Bill had chronicled his thoughts not just about business, but about family, love, and his dreams for us. A tear escaped as I read the words, his hopes for our happiness and unity glinting off the page. "Mom?" Shane's voice shattered my reverie, and I recognized the urgency behind it. He stood a few steps back, holding an old photograph of the two of us at a family picnic. All smiles. "You need to read this. It's important." I glanced up at him, an inkling of fear creeping back into my heart. Would this be another reminder of loss, or a bridge to understanding? "What is it?" I asked cautiously. "There's more to this than just Dad's business. This isn't only about material legacy, it's about our story too." His voice was steadier, and I sensed a glimmer of recognition in his eyes. He was starting to see the possibility of something rich and textured, something woven with the threads of our shared history. As Shane handed me the photo, I felt that the true legacy we stood to uncover lay not in numbers or possessions, but in the relationships we fostered amid the chaos of life. Could we mend our fractures and redefine what success meant together? With the hints of discovery igniting within me, I noticed the momentum shifting back to life. But above all, it felt like the beginning of a deeper confrontation that was yet to unfold. What other truths lay between us, buried under layers of grievances, expectations, and sheer silence? "Let's keep digging," I said, a quiet anticipation blooming within. "There's more here waiting for us." And as the light filtered through the study window, illuminating the path ahead, I could almost hear our rhythms beginning to sync up once again. Yet another chapter was unfolding. What hidden complexities awaited us in the depths of our past? Shane's voice hung in the air like an unfinished note, echoing through the silent confines of the study. I felt the weight of his words wrapping around us, pulling tight as I considered the magnitude of what lay before us. The photograph burned in my hands, a happy moment trapped in time, now laden with unspoken questions and newfound purpose. "Let's look at what else he wrote," I suggested, eager to unearth Bill's reflections and the lessons hidden within. Maybe there was more to glean about ourselves as well. We began sifting through the clutter of the study. Each file we opened revealed insights into my husband's principles, his thoughts on integrity, and his aspirations for us. As I read, my mind retraced pathways long neglected, behaviors molded by years of misunderstanding and unvoiced emotions. "Here," Shane said suddenly, pointing at a small box in the corner, nearly eclipsed by dust. "What about that?" I knelt to examine it, feeling the cool metal of the latch beneath my fingers. With a flick of the wrist, the box opened, revealing a collection of awards, recognition from the community, and letters of appreciation. He was more than a businessman. He was also a mentor, I noted, my voice tinged with pride and sorrow. Why did we let the business overshadow this side of him? I don't know, Shane admitted, his brow furrowing as if wrestling with the realization. We got so caught up in his legacy that we forgot to focus on his heart. The shift in his demeanor sparked something within me. If we could breathe life back into the values Bill cherished, might it influence our choices moving forward? I leaned into this thought, feeling a sense of urgency ignite in my core. What if we redefine success together, starting now? We can honor him by living his principles, while also building our own separate narratives. Shane met my gaze. How? There was the slightest tremor in his voice, a signal that the wisecracking front he so often wore was beginning to crack under the weight of deeper issues. Well, for one, we could start with the community projects he championed, I proposed, an idea blooming as I embraced the moment. We could combine our strengths, your business acumen with my connection to the community. Perhaps we could breathe life back into some of those programs he believed in. I noticed the flicker of intrigue ignite within him, the calculations of a businessman grappling with the possibility of richer returns than mere profit. It could be a legacy we craft together, I continued, our own stories entwined, but apart from the shadow of his. As we continued exploring the study, Shane began to engage more, offering suggestions about how we could blend our aspirations with those of the community. Each idea became a stepping stone, a way to chisel away at the walls that had formed around our hearts over the years. However, lurking beneath the surface, a separate tension simmered. The apprehension of unknowns still hovered in the periphery, quelling some of the burgeoning hope we were weaving. As we worked through the remnants of Bill's life, I couldn't shake the feeling that our breaking points were yet to come. Mom, what happens if we find out things we don't like? Shane's question tumbled from his lips, an honest fear escaping in the midst of our revelation. I hesitated, my fingers pausing over another pile of letters. His question resonated, striking at the heart of our growing connection. Could we truly face not only the heartwarming truths, but also the shadows that might emerge? Then we confront them, I replied slowly, grappling with the weight of my own words. Whatever it takes, we'll face it together. It's part of understanding who he was and who we are now. The room fell silent, our unspoken agreements hanging thick. A blend of cautious optimism and the fear of potential heartache danced around us, each feeling pulling us toward a crossroads that could lead in myriad directions. With every letter we read and every memory unearthed, it became explicit that our journey was marked not by the absence of pain, but by the reclamation of our own truths. Bill's life was an inheritance of connections, dreams, and perhaps secrets we were not yet ready to confront. Are we ready for this? Shane asked, the tension amplifying in the air around us. Ready or not, we need to consider how we want this story to continue, I asserted, infused with a newfound sense of purpose. I could feel the ground shifting beneath our feet, as if the path forward was transforming with each deep breath, unearthing a reality we couldn't avoid. Let's keep going, I proposed, clenching my jaw against the uncertainty. Whatever is next, we'll tackle it together. As Shane nodded, a hint of determination glimmered in his eyes. But a creeping uncertainty lingered in the corners of my mind, creating an undeniable tension in the air. Would we uncover deeper fractures, truths that might unravel our growing bond? And what unseen challenges lay ahead in the exploration of our past? The realization loomed heavy, entangled with curiosity. In the pursuit of understanding Bill, would we ultimately find a way back to ourselves? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper confrontation that would test every limit we thought stable? "Let's see what else is waiting for us," I whispered, swallowing hard as we forged on. As we continued sifting through the remnants of Bill's life, something began to shift inside me. With each new document, I felt the balance of my identity morphing, between grief-stricken widow and an empowered woman ready to reclaim her narrative. The words on the pages felt like pieces of a puzzle that had long been scattered, and now, as I dusted them off, they were starting to reveal a clearer picture. "What's this?" Shane asked, interrupting my reflective moment as he pulled out a worn notebook. It was leather-bound and softened with age, its pages yellowed but meticulously inscribed with Bill's tidy handwriting. My pulse quickened at the sight. This wasn't merely a treasure trove of memories, it was a potential roadmap to his hidden depths. "Let's take a look," I urged, feeling a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The notebook felt heavy, as though it carried not just thoughts, but the essence of his truth. We sat down, crossing our legs on the floor, a barrier against the daunting weight of the past that loomed above us. As we scrolled through the notes, insights began to unfurl, a succession of thoughts about family, business ethics, and the importance of community. Mixed among his musings were passages reflecting uncertainty and a yearning for connection. Each entry pulled me deeper into the psyche of a man I thought I knew intimately, yet was now revealing vividly uncharted territories. "This one." Shane's voice faltered slightly. "It talks about a project he wanted to start, but never did." He read aloud about a mentorship program for local youth, an initiative aimed at providing real-world business skills and the confidence to pursue dreams. My heart sank at the realization of how much he longed to inspire others, yet felt trapped by the very legacy he had built. "There's so much potential here," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion. He wanted to do more, but we pushed him into a corner. In that moment, a wave of determination washed over me, mingling with sorrow. I turned to Shane, who looked equally moved. "What if we take this idea and actually do it? We can make it happen together." I could see the flicker of excitement ignite in his eyes, battling against the shadows of doubt. Shane hesitated, but the gears were turning in his mind. "But Mom, the business, the risk involved." His voice trailed off as uncertainty crept in. The harsh realities of our financial state stung the air between us, but I recognized a flicker of ambition sparking beneath his reservations. "Success can't solely be measured by profits," I asserted, recalling Bill's own words of wisdom. "This could mean something profound, not just to us, but to those kids who need guidance. We can build something meaningful." Our gaze met, exchanging silent commitments. It was a pact brimming with potential, but also tearing at the fabric of our comfortable lives. Would we really step into this arena, confront the specter of failure, and pry open ourselves to the possibility of vulnerability? As we delved deeper into the notebook, I felt the tension build around us. Each revelation contained within those pages was pulling us toward a decision, still shrouded in the fog of fear and anxiety, yet growing ever more tangible by the moment. "Okay," Shane finally replied, the tremor in his voice sharpening into resolve. "Let's map out what we'll need. Resources, connections. It may take time to build, but we can carve out a new path." "Absolutely," I nodded, an adrenaline rush surging through me. The road would be fraught with challenges, both external and internal. What had once seemed a blueprint for Bill's unrealized dreams was morphing into our shared vision for a new legacy. But shadows still loomed. With ambition would come scrutiny. Would our attempts at revitalizing Bill's ethos be appraised against the harsh glare of what had been? And what were the hidden truths within Bill's world that could surface, potentially unraveling even the bonds we sought to forge anew? "Let's keep reading," I urged, the sense of urgency now palpable. Each letter, each aspiration, pulling us further into our dialogue with the past. The more we unearthed, the more aware I became that shadows were not just remnants of Bill, but could linger over us too. "What if we discover more about why he hesitated to act?" Shane asked, warily glancing back at the notebook. "Then it's something we'll have to address together," I replied, my heart racing. "Whatever it may be, we'll navigate it. We owe him that much." His nod came slow but steady, solidifying our pact. But as we delved, I felt an undercurrent of dread taking hold. The journey ahead promised the revelation of truths that could change the landscape of everything I thought I understood about Bill, and ultimately, about myself. What had begun as a simple exploration of a life now became a daunting confrontation with the ghosts, not just of the past, but of our own potential futures. "Let's see what lies beyond," I whispered, resigned yet hopeful, as we prepared ourselves to delve deeper into the complexities that awaited us. As we turned the pages of the notebook, the atmosphere shifted, charged with a restless energy. The reality of what we were attempting to embark upon loomed ahead, each entry in Bill's careful script challenging me to confront not only his aspirations, but also my own inhibitions. The words mentorship program echoed in my mind, a siren call to action. But what competencies did I possess to lead such an initiative? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on me, rippling through my thoughts. I had spent years playing the role of supportive spouse, a silent partner in Bill's ambitions. But now it was my turn to direct the show. The thought rattled me even as it ignited a spark of energy. "Do you think we can find local partners to help?" I asked Shane, placing emphasis on we, grounding myself in the budding partnership we had forged. "Maybe, if we can connect with schools or local businesses," he replied, his voice steadier than before. "But isn't that more your world? You know how to network?" His words struck a chord. I recalled the charity events I had orchestrated, the small whispers of confidence that crept in amidst the chaos of coordinating volunteers and donors. I had been in the shadows, yes, but I had also been learning, a fact I had previously overlooked. My hesitance had held me back, not just from stepping into the light, but also into the genuine pursuit of a life impacted by my own efforts. "I can do this," I murmured, as if to convince both Shane and myself. "We both can." With that resolve crystallizing, I pulled out my phone and opened a notes app. "Let's brainstorm some names for the program. Establishing a catchy title might help rally support." My fingers danced over the screen as enthusiasm surged. Shane leaned over, pointing out a few options, and together we bounced ideas off one another. It felt oddly exhilarating to reclaim those small sparks of creativity that had dimmed beneath the weight of grief. "How about Future Leaders Initiative?" I suggested, watching his expression morph from doubt to intrigue. We delved further into practicalities, laying foundational stones for something that had only existed in Bill's dreams. The more we mapped out our plans, the clearer it became that this was not just a tribute to his unrealized potential, but a commitment to embrace the very values he had instilled in us. Yet, amidst the flurry of ideas, underlying nerves gnawed at me. Would I have the courage to follow through? The specter of judgment haunted me. Challenging my own doubts was one thing, but stepping into a wider community where expectations loomed larger felt insurmountable. My mind churned with visions of public scrutiny, of wondering if I'd collapse under the weight of a legacy that had never been mine. "Mom, are you okay?" Shane's concerned gaze brought me back to the moment. His innocence stirred guilt within me, for I had to project strength and resilience, not just for myself, but for him too. "I'm fine," I lied, hoping to mask my apprehension. This was our path now. There was no turning back, no hiding from the truth that our collaboration was a dance of ambition and vulnerability. Bill's dreams were amplifying our own, but could we bring them to fruition without stumbling? Let's contact a few schools tomorrow, he suggested, folding the notebook delicately and placing it aside. The more we communicate this vision, the more real it will feel. I agree, I said, with newfound determination. As the plan took shape, so too did the realization that in taking on this project, I was not just rekindling Bill's vision. I was forging my own. Navigating the uncertainties ahead would demand resilience, adaptability, and the courage to confront not only the outside world, but my inner doubts. I had to face the fears that threatened to derail me. This was about growth, both for myself and the young lives we sought to inspire. Then, a chilling thought struck. What if I failed? The question lingered, a persistent echo. I took a deep breath, willing myself to embrace the fear. Perhaps there lay the very key to redefining my identity. It might lead to confronting unspoken truths about Bill and myself. Ready? Shane's voice broke my contemplation, filled with youthful drive and a promise of support. More than ever, I replied, though the shadows still loomed. I had the ideas and motivation brewing. Now it was time for action. We stood together at the precipice of a new journey, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that deeper revelations awaited us. Tomorrow will be pivotal, I thought, as a sense of dread intermingled with hope. Would we be prepared to face not only the logistical challenges, but the emotional ones as well? As we wrapped up for the evening, I glanced at the notebook, now closed but bursting with the life Bill had intended. The shadows of yesterday were merging with the blinding light of new possibilities. The time had come to wrestle with the narrative we were crafting and confront the ultimate question. Was I ready to embrace the potential of a future unbound by the past? I drifted into sleep that night, haunted by a singular thought. The truth lay just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. What awaited us in the light of tomorrow could very well reshape everything we believed about our own capabilities. Would we be strong enough to face what we might discover? The next morning switched from doubt to determination as I stared at the faded glory of a sunrise creeping through the window shades. Today was the day we would carve a notch into the unknown, stepping beyond the careful confines I had lived within for so long. Are you ready? Shane's voice, bright and expectant, drew me from my reverie. He bounded into the kitchen, his youthful energy clashing with the weight of my uncertainty. Just about, I murmured, clutching my coffee cup as if it were a shield. The rich aroma grounded me. Comfort and chaos twined together. I kicked my imagination into high gear, mentally prepping for our first call with the schools. Each ring that echoed back in the silence of my thoughts reinforced my fears, but also the thrill of potential. We sat at the kitchen table, laced with remnants of yesterday's toast, and I flipped through the notebook. The names we had brainstormed danced across the page, but unease still gnawed at me. What if they reject our idea? What if we can't articulate Bill's vision properly? I questioned, my voice wavering under the weight of self-doubt. Shane leaned forward, his eyes filled with a strong belief that I somehow couldn't reciprocate. Mom, we've gone through this. We've put in the effort, we've clarified our vision, and we believe in it. That's what matters. His unwavering faith felt like a beacon, beckoning me away from my self-imposed barriers. I realized that my fears were paralyzing. They were ghosts of past failures whispering for me to retreat. I had to navigate through those shadows, turn them into lessons rather than roadblocks. With a deep inhale, I raised my phone and dialed the first number on our list. As the phone rang, my heartbeat quickened, and every pulse echoed my internal battle. This was not merely a professional leap, it was personal. Each response, each connection would demand a piece of my newly emerging identity. Hello? A voice crackled through, unexpected yet inviting. Hi, my name is Samantha, and I'm calling to discuss a mentorship initiative we're proposing for local youth. I heard my own words and felt slightly detached, as if they were coming from someone else. But that realization sparked a fire inside. This was my voice. We discussed the purpose of the program, pulling from Bill's dreams, painting a picture of what it could become. My confidence rose with each detail I shared. I gained momentum, feeding off the initial validation from the voice on the other end. As the conversation flowed, an unexpected fervor took hold of me. I was no longer just a woman in mourning, but an architect of change, an individual ready to transform aspiration into action. Could we set up a meeting to explore this further? The voice was enthusiastic. Yes, absolutely, I managed, excitement surging through me like an electrical current. After hanging up, I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. Shane's eyes were wide, reflecting awe mixed with pride. "That was incredible, Mom," he exclaimed. "It felt, I don't know, liberating," I admitted, nearly trembling with exhilaration. Each step forward meant conquering fears, but it also meant embracing a piece of Bill, reaffirming what he believed, in potential, in empowerment, in standing up to adversity. With 2 more calls completed successfully, I felt a transformation occurring within me. The shadows were receding, and in their place, clarity emerged, glimmering promisingly. I understood that while my insecurities would always be present, they could no longer dictate my path. After we wrapped up, Shane turned to me with a thoughtful look. "What's next? Are we really ready for this?" The question hung between us, fragile yet essential. "We have to plan a roadmap next. We need to define what success looks like for us, not just in the program, but personally. What do we want to achieve?" He nodded, and together we began sketching out next moves, generating a list of goals that stretched our imaginations and yet felt attainable. Yet in the back of my mind lurked a deeper question, haunting me. Could I truly carry Bill's legacy forward without also reckoning with my own past decisions and failures? We entered the quiet evening light, conversing about future plans while uncertainty flickered in the background. The palpable tension stirred my thoughts, reminding me that every choice would come wrapped in its own set of consequences. The groundwork was laid, but would I break free from the grips of my own fears? As I leaned back in my chair, I realized just how much still lay ahead. Tomorrow, I thought, would mark another test of my resolve. Would the next calls reveal more than just logistical challenges? Would they force me to uncover the deeper truths of my own identity? The moment of reckoning felt closer than ever, and with it, I sensed an impending transformation, one that could both inspire and terrify me in equal measure. Would I be ready to confront not only the world, but also the parts of myself I had long buried? The sun slipped into its destined arc, casting long shadows that seemed to linger just beyond the edges of my awareness. The morning unfolded quietly, yet my mind buzzed with a whirlwind of thoughts, each vying for my attention. The significance of our progress felt enormous. It walked a tightrope between apprehension and the exhilaration of stepping boldly into the realm of the unknown. "Mom!" Shane called from the other room, snapping me back to reality. "I think we need to adjust our goals. Some of these are too vague." Vague. The word struck me. Was that perhaps how I had approached my own life for years, in attempts to avoid the uncomfortable or unpredictable? Wrapping myself in a cocoon of familiarity while hoping the world would somehow recognize my desire for change without me having to show it? I walked over to join him, the scent of coffee still lingering in the air like an uninvited memory. His laptop flickered with the blue glow of our earlier notes, but now, beside it lay several new rows of revised goals framed in Shane's diligent handwriting. I sat down, scanning through the pages, my heart racing, as I realized these wasn't merely a list, but a plan that could redefine our path. He had transformed my evasions into actionable items, grounding our aspirations into something real and measurable. "These are incredible," I said, an echo of pride mixed with self-doubt. "But are we really ready to chase them?" Shane paused, his gaze unwavering. "We have to be. Otherwise, what was the point of everything we've done?" His challenge sparked something within me, a stubborn will to confront not just the program we were building, but the remnants of my own indecision. "Okay," I sighed, feeling the weight of commitment settle around me. Let's pick the 3 most urgent goals and start building around them. Can we make a schedule? The plan expanded rapidly. We established timelines and responsibilities, each point lighting a fire of responsibility and excitement. It felt like fortifying a ship before setting sail, ready to navigate through elemental storms. Yet as our plans solidified, shadows of doubt occasionally whispered in my ear. How many times had I promised myself to change before? How many dreams had I allowed to drift away? By the afternoon, sparks of determination ignited a deeper introspection. I sought out my old journal from the back shelf. It was a reminder of everything I'd written down during moments of yearning and vulnerability. I flipped through the pages, the ink revealing the fragments of me that I had silenced, visions of who I wanted to be, and the choices I had avoided confronting. One entry caught my eye. What if I could be enough? The words resonated as if I were standing in front of a mirror, reflecting back my own critique. Had my journey with Bill's dreams always been tethered to a notion of not being enough? What if, in attempting to fulfill his legacy, I had neglected my own? The realization was both liberating and frightening. I could carve out my own path, one that honored his memory while empowering me. But those reflections could not remain dormant any longer. I had to face them head-on. Later that evening, I reached out to one of the mentors we had previously contacted, hoping for advice on navigating our next steps. With each ringing tone, a nerve tightened in my core. Expectation mixed with a disquieting fear of exposure. "Hello, Samantha," the mentor said, their voice steady and inviting, making me feel expected yet untested. I took a breath, targeting my delivery, less a performance, more a conversation born from conviction. "I wonder if we could discuss measuring the success of the mentorship program not just in numbers, but in personal impact?" "That's an interesting perspective," they replied, intrigued. My heart raced as I articulated my ideas, moving away from metrics and shifting toward purpose. I felt alive with possibility. As the dialogue unfurled, I recognized a shift within. Not only was I advocating for Bill's legacy, I was reclaiming my own narrative. As we ended the call, an epiphany dawned upon me. Our goals weren't just about professional achievements. They were profound personal trials that demanded courage and introspection. Later that night, as Shane and I wrapped up our planning, a question hovered in the air again, pressing hard against the walls of my mind. What now lay ahead? I felt an unshakable urge to explore the shadows of my past and the fears constraining my growth. With determination brewing inside me, I sensed the impending confrontation. It was time not only to address my fears, but to evolve beyond them. Could I intertwine my pursuit of Bill's vision with an authentic embrace of my identity? And as I prepared for tomorrow, the question loomed, the horizon flickering with uncertainty. Would the upcoming meetings be my chance to emerge from imposed boundaries, or a reminder of the weight I still carried? The morning light filtered through the window, teasing the remnants of night as ambition sparked within me like the first rays of dawn breaking a long, oppressive cloud. Each inhale was a commitment to move forward amidst the uncertainty that loomed. My thoughts danced with excitement and fear in equal measure, the prospect of our revised plans fueling both. I needed to dig deeper, to strip away not only the layers of professional restraint, but also those from my personal life that had kept me static for too long. Shane stepped into the kitchen, hands stuffed into his pockets, a casual stance masking a whirlwind of his own nerves. "You ready for today?" he asked, an air of anticipation mingling with his usual casual demeanor. "More than I've ever been," I replied, my confidence a tempered flame, but igniting nonetheless. Today marked the first meeting to present our refined goals. I could hear my heartbeat, each thud echoing the urgency of this pivotal moment. As we prepared, I clutched my notepad filled with talking points, apprehension settling in the pit of my stomach. My thoughts drifted to our earlier discussions about measuring success in personal impact rather than solely by metrics. What if I could communicate that perspective today? Could I articulate the weight of legacy without being trapped in its shadow? The venue for the meeting was bright and airy, reflecting hope, yet also amplifying my internal disquiet. We arrived early, setting up nervously, and I ruminated on the previous night's revelations. I remembered the resolve I had fostered, the harmonious blend of honoring Bill while carving out my own story. But was it truly attainable? Minutes passed, morphing into an eternity, until the first attendees trickled in. Each handshake was an assertion. I was not merely Bill's wife anymore, but a professional staking a claim in this endeavor. Each nod I received felt affirming, but also anxiety-inducing, a reminder that perception could shift with a single misstep. The meeting commenced in earnest, our presentation unveiling each goal layered with intention and implication. I watched as Shane spoke passionately, and I felt a rush of pride swell within me. Then came my turn, a fleeting moment that triggered a flood of self-doubt. Yet, as I began to speak, the earlier nervousness coalesced into clarity. I found my words flowing, painting the vision of a mentorship program intertwined with personal fulfillment and community impact. Success isn't just about numbers, I asserted, feeling the urgency building. We must look deeper at the transformations our mentees will experience, evaluate the lives we ignite in the process. A murmur of agreement resonated from the audience, igniting a fire within me. I was no longer tethered to the specter of perfection. I was fully embracing the essence of my voice, my narrative. As questions arose, I navigated them with growing confidence. Yet tinged beneath my composure was a burning question. Would my vision be fully accepted or dismissed as idealistic? Each time I articulated my beliefs, I felt the weight of Bill's expectations drifting further behind me, replaced instead by something new, a sense of self-worth that had long lurked in the shadows. The meeting concluded, leaving a lingering buzz in the air. My heart surged with both exhilaration and anxiety, unsure of how we would be perceived moving forward. Had I truly managed to weave personal significance into our professional endeavors? The uncertainty felt liberating, coaxing a smile from deep within. As we left the meeting, Shane's glance bore a question nestled amid pride. "Do you think they understood?" he probed cautiously. "If they didn't, that's not on us," I replied, a newfound determination resounding in my voice. "We're still evolving, and so is this journey." Yet, as we stepped out into the afternoon sun, my excitement collided with another realization. This was just the beginning. If I had dared to unearth my voice today, what else lay beneath the surface, waiting to be confronted? In the depths of my thoughts, a momentous question formed anew. Was I ready to face the remnants of my past that still held sway over my decisions? I could feel the echo of that inquiry shaping my path forward, urging transformation. It was a subtle promise that the next step was just as vital, but infinitely more daunting. How would I navigate the labyrinth of my history while still holding space for my evolving identity? The morning sun cast a warm glow over the streets as Samantha stood by the window, contemplating everything that had unfolded. The exhilaration of the meeting still lingered, but beneath it, the weight of her past echoed like a distant drum. Today marked a new beginning, and yet it was intertwined with the need for resolution. Shane's voice cut through her reverie. "What's next for us, Mom?" His eagerness mirrored her own, both of them poised on the precipice of transformation. "We move forward, Shane," she replied, the clarity in her voice undeniable. "But we also unpack what has held us back." They sat at the kitchen table, scanning the notes they'd taken together, the burgeoning vision for the mentorship program interspersed with reflections that had arisen from their journey. Samantha realized this wasn't merely about building a legacy for Bill, but crafting their own. "Let's break down our next steps, but with a fresh perspective. What do we need to confront within ourselves?" she suggested, her heart racing. Each word resonated, a challenge to navigate the complexities they had only begun to explore. Shane nodded, a glimmer of understanding dawning. "We can't build the program on a shaky foundation of our own baggage. It's got to be authentic. As they dove deep into the discussions, Samantha started to peel back her layers of self-doubt. She revisited her journal, pulling out past entries, wrestling with regrets and dreams left unrealized due to fear. "The truth is," she began, "I've let my identity be overshadowed by the responsibilities I believed I needed to carry. I've only been half of myself." Shane leaned in, intrigued. "I get that, Mom. And I've been trying to look like the perfect son. Maybe we both need to shed those expectations." "Yes. By reclaiming our individual identities, we can craft something real and impactful. It's not just Bill's legacy we're building. It's ours," Samantha asserted, each word lifting the weight off her shoulders. In the ensuing days, they began reaching out to local organizations, crafting their mentorship program with an authenticity that came from their undiluted selves. Each new connection honed their mission further, tying in personal experiences that enriched their vision. As they prepared for the next round of meetings, doubts began to resurface. "What if they think we're underqualified?" Samantha voiced her concerns aloud, the shadows creeping back, dancing on the edges of her conviction. Shane's gaze steadied her. "Mom, we're not here to please anyone's expectations. We're here to share our journey. That's what will resonate." With fresh commitment, Samantha embraced the truth of the journey so far. Day by day, with each presentation, she found a voice she had long silenced, a woman ready to step into her own agency. She began not only articulating the program's vision, but her own aspirations, intertwining the two into a cohesive narrative. Each meeting became an exploration, an unveiling of stories, both Bill's life and her own, intertwined with the fabric of their community. The more they engaged, the more Samantha realized that people didn't solely want dry statistics. They craved authentic connections. They bore witness to her own evolving story. With every positive response from schools and community leaders, her confidence solidified. "Maybe this time I'll be enough," she thought, embracing the growing momentum as it ignited a flicker of hope within her. And then it happened. One fateful day, she received a call from a local newspaper expressing interest in a feature about their mentorship initiative. Samantha felt a surge of exhilaration and fear. "Is this really happening?" "Of course," Shane responded enthusiastically. "This is your chance to share our vision and show that we're not just stories of loss, but also of rebirth and growth." The interview day dawned bright and unfettered, invigorated with palpable energy. As she walked through the streets toward the local cafe they had chosen for the meeting, she felt different, not merely a widow or an aspiring entrepreneur, but a woman reclaiming her place in the world. During the interview, the journalist was curious about Samantha's personal evolution and her relationship with Shane. "How has this process shaped both of you?" Her response came unwavering. "It's taught us that our worth is not determined by societal expectations. It's about our journey, our authenticity. I'm reclaiming my voice after years of feeling lost in the shadows." The article published the following week revered their initiative, shining a spotlight on their relationship, underscoring the power of authenticity within their shared narrative. Samantha felt an overwhelming sense of pride. The recognition wove into the very fabric of her being, affirming her growth. As she looked at Shane, celebrating their achievements, an undeniable warmth blossomed. "We did this together," she said, her eyes glistening. "Together. And it's only the beginning for us." He smiled back, hope radiating from their shared triumph. As they moved forward, Samantha reflected on how the journey reshaped them both. No longer tethered to the fears pulling them back, they were forging ahead, crafting their own story. Not just a continuation of Bill's legacy, but a testament to their own resilience. The time had arrived for honest confrontation, her past choices fading into echoes. She had become a force within her own narrative, ready to embrace whatever challenge lay ahead. With renewed purpose, she stepped into her emerging identity, resolved to continue the journey not only for Bill, but for herself. The future sparkled ahead, unfurling ventures that would demand vulnerability, strength, and the audacity to stay true to their evolving selves. This wasn't merely a success story. It was a destiny crafted from introspection, authenticity, and the promise to reclaim their lives one step at a time. Now, brave enough to face whatever else awaited, Samantha felt an abiding truth surface within her. She was enough. You need to subscribe now to catch the next illumination of resilience in our journey. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and push our message even further. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Comment below your reactions and theories about the transformation we've witnessed. Your stories matter,